if you've got good credit and you want to bet juice free, I'll lay the 2.5. So the season's on the line. I mean, there's never been a more kitchen sink game than this one. I mean, you have to beat the Jets. I like Keegan. I'm an American through and through. I just, for some reason, I just don't really trust nor even like a lot of the U.S. golfers. I think I would take probably 5 euros in a row before I would get to the second American, and definitely before I got to the third American. I am motioning to push all my chips in the center. We have 2 aces, and we're going to put them all in, and we're going to hope that we get a clean run out. And this is as free a square as you can get in the NFL.
The Eagles -3.5 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. I think if I'm betting this game, I'm probably going to take the Eagles.
Gamble up, take the risk, roll the dice. Strategy and guts gonna change your life. Poker chips and parlays, the games are set. Adam and ODB, you ain't seen nothing yet.
All right, everybody, Gamble Up, episode 7, up and running, is September 24th, 2025, heading up to week 4 of the NFL season. We just got through week 3. So without further ado, let's take a quick look back at week 3, go over some of the stuff that happened, have a look at some of the contest situations for David and others, and then we'll look forward to game 4. And we got some Ryder Cup this week, right? We got the most interesting television and sports, some would argue, coming up this week. The greatest event, in my opinion, for a 3-day binge. I don't know, David. Quickly, I'm sure we'll talk about it later. But is there anything else that'll get you up at 4 a.m. Other than watching golf in the Ryder Cup?
Nowadays, I'm kind of Mr. Senior. I wake up early anyway. But yeah, I mean, I'll be up for the golf like an idiot. I scheduled to play golf on Friday, so I'll be watching some of it on my phone. I totally forgot, just spaced on that I'll want to watch golf, but got a buddy coming in town playing Cascada, so it's a pretty good place to be to watch golf. But Saturday, Sunday, yeah, I'll definitely have the Ryder Cup on and sweating away. Definitely.
And we got the Dublin game. We got the Dublin game at 6 a.m. on Sunday, right?
This might be the best sports weekend. This is the best sports weekend of the year. I mean, maybe, I don't know. It's been a while. I mean, this is a great sports weekend. So I'm super pumped for all of it. Let's hit it and talk about some of the things and figure out how we're going to make some money this week.
All right. Speaking of making money, last week didn't look like a fantastic week for your side wagering. Your favorite game, you had one game that you liked, so you tweeted out at AU David B, was the Washington Commanders. They were a winner, so that brings the games that you like the most to 3-2 this season. And then your next sort of tier of games that you were picking were the sides you liked: Bengals, Patriots, Texans, Jets, and Broncos. And those teams went 1-1, I believe, depending on when you got the one game, right?
Yeah, I mean, well, Broncos I was always going to play at 3, so that was fine. But yeah, not the best week as far as that goes. Funny enough, there were like 4 or 5 games that were on my going to put on their list, but I was deep in a poker tournament, so I just decided to play less games and do less, which is very, very rare for me. It was just a really good tournament at the Poker Go Studio, so I played that and got 14th, so that was pretty good. It was day 2 was on Sunday, so I just decided not to play as many games, but no excuses. We play to win the game. I didn't win the games. I didn't put out other games I liked. The other games I liked were Panthers, easy winner; Bears, easy winner; Cardinals, tough winner. Yeah, there were a couple other ones in there. So unfortunately, did not do that well. But hey, 2-3-1 on picks when you win the game that you like the best. That's, basically a 500 record if you double up on the best game. So it was okay. I mean, if my worst weeks are that, then that's fine. But definitely been struggling to cash as many as I'd like. But it's also, there's a lot of variance in it. I mean, the New England game, we win that one like 95 out of 100 times. I mean, had 5 turnovers that were just at the worst spots possible. So that one was a winner. Obviously got a little lucky on the Jets, but yeah, I don't know. It was kind of just a whatever week.
All right. And then to talk about the Circa Millions, of course, the picking contest that you and many, many other people are in. The update is this week. So, we've been talking about the winning percentages of the total picks in the Circa Millions, right? I mean, we talked about it before. Some of these lines get stale by by Saturday, by lock date. So you would think some of the best handicappers in the world would be picking at a, plus 50% clip, at least at some point in the season. So far, week 1, 41%, correct. Week 2, and this is a large sample, right? This isn't, 8, 10, 12 guys. This is thousands and thousands of picks. Week 2, 44%. And then this week, it got a little better up to 46%. So, I guess my question is, do you think there's some sort of skewing to pick, this group of gamblers picking dogs and, maybe favorites have covered more often in the first 3? Like, what do you think is sort of the reason behind this sort of, I mean, let's be honest, it's a really poor performance by the best handicappers in the world so far with the Circa Millions contest.
Yeah, I'm just going to pretty much chalk most of it up to variance. I mean, we're talking about there's 16 games a week, there's 48 games. So how many of those games were basically coin flips with 90 seconds left? Like, I would say probably 25 to 30% of them with spread wise. So, it's not really a big sample when you think about it that way. I know our picks were a little bit down this week. We decided to play contest strategy this week. We put every entry we had on the 2 worst lines in the pool, which one of them was the Broncos. They were 2.5. And like we thought, the droves of people would just flock to the Chargers at -2.5. And I don't hate that pick. That game was pretty much a flip most of the time. I felt pretty good about the Broncos. I thought they handled themselves okay. And Justin Herbert just, pulled the play out his ass. I mean, in the nicest way possible, I say that. I mean, his touchdown throw to Keenan Allen, he somehow evades multiple rushers and throws it on a rope to a well-covered Keenan Allen who makes a great catch, and they tie the game there. And
well, not just on a rope, but like cross-body, running sideways. Like, that was one of the most amazing throws I've seen in quite a long time. Herbert's great. I had no idea he was that great.
Yeah, well, I mean, the talent's always been there. I mean, the issue with him is, from his detractors, has always been, can you win in meaningful games? And this is a step in that direction. I don't know whether he's matured or like just the variance of the spot, just kind of caught up. Regardless, I think Justin Herbert's a great quarterback and I like him a lot. And yeah, I mean, the Broncos Bo Nix missed multiple receivers by inches for touchdowns. And, this game's just a game of inches. I'm not selling my Knicks stock. I'm willing to buy more if people are selling. So
I can see the jersey. That's awesome.
Yeah, I got the Knicks jersey on. This is just a little support for my man. I think he's close, man. He's just been really close and just missed. But, we took a spot with the Broncos knowing that we were going to get extreme leverage, and we did. And I was pumped to have that on all our cards. If we were 11-4 or something, then I would have not taken that spot just because it was a bad line. And I know it's a bad line, but in this contest, I firmly believe if you like the side and you have a bad line, you've got to really push it, because the percentages are not that different between, the lines aren't worth that much. They're worth a couple of percentage points. So when you can get 5 times leverage on the field, and you're giving up a couple percentage points, like we've talked about multiple times, you have to do it. The other game we put on every card, which was the Commanders, that line was 3, and it was even shaded towards the Raiders. A little disappointed that the Raiders didn't come in more highly owned. I thought that they would be right up there with the Broncos, but I think they came in as like 6th or 7th. So we still created some good leverage on that spot, and we won that one. We also, Mark loved the Rams last week. I talked about on the show, I leaned Eagles, but I didn't really have a strong opinion. And when you do a partnership, and if one guy really likes the side, then you do. And he nailed that game. He was right. That was an extremely bad beat, variance filled spots. Yeah. But, did lose some other spots. We had Bengals and Texans, which, were losers. Had the Patriots on there some. That I've already talked about was a winner. But Mark liked the Niners, and that was another one where, we were just on the unlucky side of variance on that. That one was, when a team wins by 1 and the line's 1.5, then, it's not, you didn't really miss that game. He had the Seahawks to his credit. He nailed that one. And yeah, why don't you give us a little of your experience there? I know you went to Seattle and watched that football game.
What an amazing day for football. It was a beautiful sunny day in the Pacific Northwest. That stadium is fantastic. It's a wonder to walk into. We had amazing seats. I think our seats straddled the 50-yard line about 40 rows up, and we were in the nice area with all the great food and everything, and had a couple of beers and just sat back in the sun and had a great day. It was fantastic. The game wasn't great, obviously. Quick blowout by Seattle. It was over pretty much after the first quarter almost. But it's our home team, and they crushed New Orleans. New Orleans is horrible. They're just a terrible football team. So that's maybe something we can look forward to wagering against maybe in the future. But a fantastic day. I love that field, and go Hawks go. It was great. And you guys, we'll get to it in a minute, but you had the Seahawks in Grandissimo, right? And a bunch of your survivor picks as well.
Yeah. I mean, we decided that Seattle was just in too good a spot, even though the popularity was going to be high. I really did assess Grandissimo pretty well, though. I thought that this is kind of thought of as more of a sharper pool, and sharp people don't like playing chalk in Survivor, and rightfully so. It's not really a good strategy to win the whole thing. It's a good strategy to advance a little bit, but if you continually pick the most popular team, you're going to have a really tough time winning. And when you do, it's going to mostly be chopped. So it's not really a strategy that most good Survivor people like to do. So I kind of, I thought that people would zig in this spot, just because in Grandissimo, you probably don't have to pick 20 winners. It'll probably end before that. So I figured some people would zig off of Seattle. So I could essentially zag by just standing still. So that's kind of what we did. We decided to take Seattle. I was a little worried at first when I first started breaking it down that it would be too popular. But as I started to think about it more and more, I felt like people don't have to go there. They don't have to go down to Seattle on their card for the season. And there were a few other really good spots. So I thought that people wouldn't, and we would get a little less owned than we would in the main pool. And I was right. And it came in lower owned, and it was nice to finally have a no sweat Survivor pick. So
yes, so 50% of the people in the Circa Survivor were on the Seahawks, or 48 point something percent, almost half.
No. In the 1K?
Yeah.
It was like
one.
39.3 or something.
Well, Circa posted the week 3 results. I think if you just check, it's 6,655 people were on the Seahawks. 48%, it says. Maybe they're wrong. The Bills.
That might have been like taking out the people who took the Bills. It was definitely 39. Okay. 100% of it.
And then in the Grandissimo, 20 of the 69, or not, there weren't 69 entries. There
were 68 left. Yeah.
68 left. That's right.
Yeah. So less than 30%.
Bills were 19. And then the Packers, 8 people took the Packers. They're out. And 2 people took the Falcons, who are also out. Packers, obviously, upset by the Browns was a big one. Also in the 1K, lost a fair amount of people there with the Falcons and the Packers too. So, you've got how many entries through in the 1K? Is it 6 entries through? Is that right?
We have a little bit. I'm in a few different groups, but we have a little bit more than that. But I got about half the entries through. Okay. We did lose a percentage on Green Bay.
Oh, you did? So, okay, you had some.
Yeah, we had a little Green Bay. Decided to always want to have a couple teams. It's hard to really just go all in at this stage. I mean, soon we might, because you start losing entries. You don't have that many, and you don't really want to be so diversified. But decided to fade Tampa and fade Atlanta, fade the Chiefs. So we had to find another team. We decided Green Bay. Wasn't like a love spot, but I felt like Green Bay would get through. And I mean, for 58 minutes, it looked like it wasn't going to be an issue, but somehow, like the NFL has a tendency to do, sometimes these teams just come from nowhere. And I was pretty happy sweating the games being on the sides that we were on. I mean, Tampa had a real tough time closing the deal and needed a field goal at the very end. And the Falcons obviously got blown out by the Panthers. And I'm not even sure what the next game up was after that, but there weren't a lot of like easy spots, and Seattle ended up being the easiest spot on the board. So I was happy to be on that. It's nice every once in a while to not have extreme stress when you're sweating Survivor.
Oh, yep. I was just going to ask, are you still buying Raven stock?
That's a tough question.
Well, they're 1-2, right? They're 1-2. We called them the best team in football early before the season started. They're 1-2. I mean, granted, they lost to the Bills and the Lions, so it's not like they're losing to, Cleveland or something.
Well, here's the thing with the Ravens. I think they're the most talented team in football. I think offensively, they're just a wagon. Defensively, they've really looked vulnerable. And I thought they were going to have a better defense. Now, am I buying them for they're still championship contenders in my head? I don't know. One thing about this team is they've been consistently inconsistent at the end of games. And you can look at that Buffalo game in the playoffs. You can look at, I think it was the Chiefs game the year before in the playoffs. You can look at the Bills game to start this year. You can look at this Lions game. When it gets down the stretch, they seem to just always find a way to make mistakes. So is that a variance thing, or is that just poor coaching, poor concentration, poor fundamentals? I don't know. I mean, I will say that to start the season, they were minus 175 to win their division. They're 1-2, and they're like minus 350 now. So, they don't really have a whole lot of competition to get a home game and at least get the 3 or 4 seed in the AFC, which would ensure at least one home game, if not 2. They're kind of up against it to get the 1 seed. I mean, they're already 2 games back plus a tiebreaker of Buffalo, and Buffalo doesn't really have a tough schedule. So they're pretty much out for the 1 seed. But, to start the year, they were minus 600 to win the Super Bowl, or plus 600 to win the Super Bowl, and now they're plus 625 on Circa. So the market doesn't really seem to be down on them, although it seems like every talking head seems to be down on them. So I don't know. It's a very complicated question. I'm definitely a lot more concerned than I was to start the year. I thought they would come out and they would just pants on fire. We're going to show this league that this was the best team last year and we're going to be all in. And I don't really see that. And as much as I love Lamar and I love his talent, ends of games, he just seems to be a little lackadaisical. Now he gets out of it with his athleticism a lot, but I don't know. What do you guys think?
I think that both the Bills and the Lions have fantastic offenses. And I think we saw that this week, especially with the Lions. I mean, Bills we knew about, but the Lions are a wagon for sure. Goff's amazing. He's been great. 2 great running backs that complement each other really well. Amon-Ra St. Brown is, elite wide receiver in the league, a really good tight end. They run the ball well. I mean, to your point about Baltimore's defense, we're talking about, games against the two of the best offenses other than themselves in the league, right? So they, putting up 38 on them isn't great. A great look for Baltimore this week, but they can beat anybody any day. I don't think that's any doubt. They're in a terrible division to what we were talking about earlier. So I don't really see those 2 games as a damnation of them, rather than those are 3 of the best teams in football.
They got a get-right game against the Chiefs this weekend.
Which will be really interesting, right? Like, if the Chiefs if they lose that game, they're 1-3. I don't know, David, are we writing them off at that point? I mean, are they, what's going on? What, if they end up 1-3 after the Ravens game?
I think we need to hold back this Ravens Chiefs conversation to the segment that we're going to talk about games in the future. We can't give up. We can't give it all up on the first date. We got to hold a little back, something back for the people. But
we're getting too excited. We're getting ahead of ourselves for sure.
Definitely the game of the week as far as interest levels. So we'll save that one for a little bit later in the show. We got to make you all listen to the rest of this stuff before we get to the entree.
All right, a little appetizer then. Back to the millions. Your teams now. You have one team at 8-7. So the leading team right now through 3 weeks, 15 picks. Obviously, there's one team at 14-1, and only 2 teams at 13-2, which I thought was interesting. Out of all the entries, only 3 teams have have only 2 losses or less. So yeah, it's what are you in your best team? You're 8-7, so you're 5 back of second. But it's a long season. There's still many, many weeks to go. We're only 3 weeks in. And I think we were talking about the last show about sort of how you approach this. And I think, right off the top, you were saying you picked some low-owned teams. You were playing the game a little bit this week rather than going after some teams that maybe you would pick otherwise. So, one team 8-7, one team 7-8. You have 3 teams at 6-9 and 3 and 5 and 10. So those ones you're probably going to, I would imagine, take some long shots with.
Yeah, I mean, we're still going to pick the games we like. We're definitely going to err more on the ones that have bad lines. We'll take bad lines, at least for this week. Next week, we start a new quarter, and the quarter prizes are 6 figures. So those will all start 0-0. So I doubt we'll throw too many things on that. That being said, even the beginning of the quarter, I'm totally fine in taking contrarian plays if I like the side. I don't want to take contrarian plays just to play them. If I don't like the side, then I'll just maybe fade the game, or I'm even fine like leaning into the chalk. I'm very much a proponent of listening to myself and Mark and the things that we like and that we want to do and playing those. But when it comes to how to distribute the games, like the Broncos, we would probably put them on like a few cards instead of all 8 cards, but we like them. Well, I mean, we really like them. I mean, I'm not going to act like I didn't like the Broncos. I did, and I'll stand by that. But if I didn't like the Broncos, I wouldn't just throw them on the card just to have them. Even at 5-10, I'm probably not doing that. Maybe if there's some big news that comes out, like let's say, for instance, I don't even know what could happen. Maybe the Washington line is set up for Jaden Daniels, and then he has he re-aggravates his injury, and then it's 3 or 4 points. Maybe I'll do something like that. But for the most part, I'm not like going out of my way to pick bad lines if I don't like the side. So anytime we do that, we actually like the side as well, but we know from a contest standpoint that gaining the leverage is big. So if all I cared about was the record and being able to come on here and say, oh, I've got 10-5 card, we would just play one card and just play the best line values, because obviously the best lines are going to win a majority of the time. That's the whole point.
All right, so let's roll through some of these teams and see where we're at with them through 3 weeks. Let's start maybe in the AFC East. The Bills 3-0, and the rest of the division, not real. I don't think there's much to talk about here, huh, David? Both of the rest of the division, not much there, but Dolphins are just tragic.
Yeah, I mean, big games, I think, for the rest of the division. I mean, Buffalo's just going to walk away with it. I don't really know how good they are. I mean, they beat the Jets and the Dolphins at home. Jets was on the road, but Dolphins at home, and they beat that Ravens team. That game was a little wonky, but I'm going to reserve judgment on whether I think they're Super Bowl favorites or anything for after I get to see them play versus some decent teams, which may not be for a while. Their schedule's like as weak as it comes. But Jets Dolphins, kind of loser leaves town. Now neither one of them are going to make it to town. Neither of them are getting there, but I mean, one of these teams is going to be 0-4 when it's done. The other one, I mean, the AFC is very weak in the middle portion. So you're going to have a team sneak into the playoffs at 9-8. I mean, right now, either the Ravens or Chiefs are going to be 1-3. The Broncos are 1-2. Like the Texans are 0-3. There's some of the teams that you thought you're going to be fighting for playoff spots are also in bad spots. So I think you could make a case to you and your fan base that you're still competitive. So I think that game's interesting. Patriots have a get right game with the Panthers, and they were a preseason darling. So I'll be interested to see if they can come out and hold on to the football and take care of business against a subpar team. And that will kind of, set the tone for them for the rest of the year. But yeah, it's basically Bills. That's it.
We talked about the AFC North earlier, the Ravens 1-2, but still a huge favorite to win that division. Are the Browns the second best team in that division? at 1-2, maybe.
Yeah, I think there's just three bad teams.
There are.
I don't even really know how to rank these teams. I mean, the Steelers have found ways to win 2 of the 3 weeks. The only week they didn't find the way to win is the 1 week that I pushed my chips in with them. So I definitely am not a Steelers whisperer at this point. And yeah, I mean, the Bengals, their line issues are on both sides of the football are very bad. So yeah, and they have backup quarterback. So we'll see them in Denver this week, and they're going to have to find a way to have some explosive plays because the Broncos defense could really punish them, and it's hard to really drive the ball in the Broncos. You kind of have to beat them with explosives, which T and Chase can definitely do. But yeah, I don't see it getting better for them this week.
The AFC South, the Colts keep rolling 3-0. Jacksonville 2-1. I mentioned them last week. I think they're sneaky good. Yeah, they've had some drops and some challenges on offense, but sneaky good there. The Texans, are they the best 0-3 team? I would think they probably are.
I mean, the Texans are the best 0-3 team, but that doesn't necessarily mean they're good at this point. I think we talked in the preview pod that I wasn't really sure who I wanted to go with, whether it was the Colts or the Jags, but I definitely wanted to fade the Texans to win that division. And yeah, that's looking pretty strong right now. Both the Colts and the Jags look much better than market at the beginning of the year anticipated. The Jags have a lot of room for growth. I definitely agree that they're kind of at the beginning stages of their development, and there's going to be some bumps along the way. The Colts have had a relatively easy schedule. They had 2 complete cream puff teams, 2 of the top 5 worst teams in the league, and then they got that win versus Denver, which was pretty impressive the way that they scored on this very good defense, but still at the end of it was, kind of a ref-induced win. But the Colts are good, and they have a test this week versus the Rams, and that's definitely a game we'll get to in our preview section. But yeah, the Texans are definitely struggling, and them along with the Patriots, they've both got get right spots this week. So the Texans, if they have any hope, they have to go ahead and take care of business in Tennessee.
I have a bit of a bad beat story there in my fantasy league, or one of my fantasy leagues. I traded away Jonathan Taylor for CeeDee Lamb this week.
I would have liked that at the time. I was a big CeeDee fan, although I do think that Jonathan Taylor was, prime for a big breakout. But yeah, that's tough timing on that one for sure.
Well, it's not too bad because I'm 3-0 and I've got Mason and Jalen Warren. I'm pretty deep at running back, and I'm 3-0, so I can kind of fade a few weeks of missing CD.
All right, sick brag.
Yeah, sick brag. I did end up doing okay there. All right, let's move on to the AFC West. We got the Chargers 3-0, and then Raiders 1-2. Your Broncos 1-2. Chiefs 1-2. We'll talk about that Chiefs game again in a bit. But are the Chargers this good? I guess is the question. Are they worthy of where they are in the standings so far?
Well, I think so. We talk all the time that there are just a couple of components that are most important in winning football games, and it kind of starts with a head coach and quarterback. And I would say that they have top 5 guys in both of those things, and there's not many other teams that have that. The receivers, they've got a pretty stable receiving core. I was not sure that Keenan Allen was going to come back and be this energized, and he looks great. I mean, they haven't even started to get McConkey off yet, and he's a very good receiver. QJ's kind of seemed to solve his drop issue. We know he's always had the speed and the ability to get open, and we just didn't know if he could catch the football, and he's starting to catch the football. They lost Najee Harris, but whatever. I mean, he's a mid-tier running back, and they still have the rookie Amarian Hampton back there. The problem with the Chargers comes with their offensive line. It's not really very good, and Herbert was under siege with this Broncos D. That being said, most of the league doesn't have the Broncos D, so that maybe they can handle things against some of the more mediocre defenses, but I think they might struggle a little bit against some of the better defenses. I mean, you saw Herbert had plenty of time versus the Raiders and kind of pick them apart, but the Raiders have one quality player on defense. The Broncos, they got in there and made it rough, and he had to pull out Superman acts, which he's going to do from time to time. But yes, in a nutshell, the Chargers are for real. I don't think they're going to run away and hide, though, but they do have a very, very nice lead, having beaten all three of these teams that are 1-2. So they're basically 2.5 games up on the field. But they also do have home games versus the Chiefs and Broncos, I think, still have their home games left versus the Chargers. So, if they lose those, then they're right back at it. But those are more towards the end of the year. So we'll kind of see what happens between now and then. But yeah, I'm definitely putting the Chargers in the contender status, especially because the AFC is very, very weak.
Yeah.
After the Bills and probably Ravens. They're probably, I think they're a solid 3 at this point.
And I think they're 13-1 or something to win the Super Bowl, which feels about right. Maybe in that range.
Yeah, I would have them a little higher, but it makes sense because they're almost assured now of getting in the playoffs. They have they're a strong favorite to host at least one, if not 2 football games, especially because the Ravens are, 2 games back of them now, and Ravens have difficult schedules. So it's not out of the realm of possibility that the Chargers get either the 1 or the 2 seed. So I guess that makes sense. And look, if the offensive line starts to gel a little bit and the defense can stay doing good things. I mean, the defense has looked good, even though not all the metrics are great for them, but they do have some playmakers. So let's see if they can stay healthy and continue. But yeah, I'm buying the Chargers. I think they're a very good team.
Any futures or stuff that you've come across maybe in the last week that you've picked up?
No, I considered pressing a little bit on my Broncos win the division, but I think that's more heart than anything. It's chasing good money after bad, but I don't think the Broncos are dead there. I signed in to look at Ravens. I mean, I went straight to the Ravens futures. I was hoping that I'd get a good price there, but the market is still out of control on their pricing. So not really much this week. Caught my eye. Kind of been busy a lot this week too, so I haven't really gotten super deep. It's still a little early in the week, but yeah, I haven't added any futures to my portfolio.
NFC East, moving there. We've talked about the Philadelphia Eagles. There's really just 2 teams in this division, right? The Eagles and the Commanders. The Commanders now 2-1. Cowboys and Giants both sort of, also runs in that division. So we've talked about the Eagles. Thoughts on the Commanders? Obviously they got injury issues, quarterback, but as a general outlook for this team.
Yeah, they beat 2 bad teams very handily in the Raiders and the Giants to start the year. They got handled in Green Bay. So I don't know. I think the outlook on them is pretty similar to how it started. I'm not sure how long or how hurt Terry McLaurin is, but I think he's a big part of this offense. You got to be able to stretch the field so that the guys underneath can win. Debo in space. Zach Ertz needs room, like he's not beating anybody off the line. The running game's kind of mess. So yeah, I think they need Terry to stretch this game out a little bit, stretch the field. Defense has been fine. Yeah, I'm kind of just holding pat on where my priors were on the Commanders. They're a good team, and in certain matchups I'm going to like them, and in certain matchups I'm going to fade them. But overall, I think I'm more bullish than bearish, but no strong outlandish takes.
Do we have anything outlandish coming out of Dallas with Jerry Jones in the near future? This team is a comedy of errors on defense. They can score for sure while CD out now, but man, that defense is just so bad.
Yeah, I'm disappointed with CD's injury because I really had high hopes for this Dallas offense. I have a lot of CD in fantasy as well, and a lot of Dak, a lot of Pickens. So I just kind of wanted this team to be in shootouts, but the defense is providing that. But we're going to have to see what the offense does without CD in there. He's the safety blanket. So I don't know if that turns into just more Jake Ferguson, or I could really see Turpin taking that role and kind of plugging in there. I think he's kind of a nice sleeper for fantasy just to have, because he's just not the type like Pickens. People kind of make this mistake. If you're not really in there, they're like, okay, well, CD was wide receiver 1, Pickens wide receiver 2. Well, now Pickens will just slot into wide receiver 1. That's really not how it works. Pickens may get a few more looks, but Pickens doesn't run the same routes that CD runs. And I think Turpin kind of runs those routes where it's kind of like the quick crossers, the quick slants, the screens. Occasionally they'll go over the top with him after, he's kind of set things up. kind of a PPR merchant, gets a lot of those passes, kind of, the Amon-Ra St. Brown role. And that's kind of the CD role as well, and the Puka Nacua role. And anybody who's in that role, if you're on a good offense, really has potential. And I think Turpin could get that role. So I kind of like having Turpin if you're if maybe you lost CD, although this week is a terrible matchup versus the Packers.
And Jake Ferguson too, right? Across the middle. That's one of the, I think he's might even be the biggest beneficiary of the CD injury.
100%.
Yeah. And Javonte, not to stay too long on the Cowboys, but I don't really have a lot of faith in Javonte Williams being this good for the rest of the year. He doesn't have a history of that, and we'll see. I would be fading his stock if I had him.
Yeah, I don't have my fade in him to start the year, and I'm holding on to a lot of Jaden Blue stock, and he hasn't been active in 3 weeks. So kind of a miss there early on, but it wouldn't surprise me, especially now they have to find playmakers with CD gone. So I'm hoping Jaden Blue gets a little look. Maybe he can impress and get a little work. Yeah, I'm a big Javonte fader. So if you have him and you're, somebody wants to give you a good price on it, then go ahead and take it. But at the same time, I don't really think a lot of people are believing. So I don't think you're going to get what he's delivering. You're probably just going to have to just keep him as long as you can, continue to ride it. And then, just your shares will just die when they die.
Maybe Jaden Blue can play linebacker. That would be nice. All right, moving on to the NFC North, also known as the best division in football. The Packers were 2-0. They did end up losing, as we talked about, 2-1. The Vikings. Carson Wentz made us eat our words, David. He wins the game too, so they're to 2-1. Detroit 2-1, and the Bears 1-2. I mean, I don't think anybody really thinks the Bears have a shot. The Vikings, they're 2-1, but can they hold on? We'll see if this is a 3-team race or a 2-team race heading down the stretch here.
Yeah, I mean, it's probably a 2-team race. I mean, the Lions and Packers are just that much better. I'm still not believing in the Vikings, but let's see. Now they get Darashaw back, which is big deal. The defense is really good. They've got one of, if not the best coach in the NFL, and they get Jordan Addison back, giving a second weapon. So yeah, the Vikings have everything there. And, I said from the beginning, I really thought the Bears were going to be better, but be patient and give Ben Johnson time. So I could see any four of these teams making the playoffs. But as far as winning the division, it's Lions, Packers. I really don't see the Vikings or Bears winning the division. And that's kind of part of the problem with getting to the playoffs is they all have to play each other, whichever. It's going to be hard to beat the Lions and Packers. So that's kind of like maybe 3 losses each for the Bears and Vikings. So you have to win your non-conference games for sure.
NFC South, are the Buccaneers the worst 3-0 team? They got to be, right? Either them or San Francisco.
We can just punt this division.
Okay. In the NFC West, we talked about the 49ers. They're 3-0. Cardinals 2-1, Seahawks 2-1. They meet tomorrow, and then the Rams 2-1. So
yeah, that's best division in football, right now.
Well, most competitive division in football. I'm not sure if it's the best.
Yeah, I think these are 4 good teams, not great teams. Although I do think the Rams have potential to be great. I think the Rams are a legit Super Bowl contender. So I mean, they were a field goal away from beating the Super Bowl champs and team on a massive win streak and, odds on favorite to go back. So in their own ballpark. So yeah, I think the Rams, that field goal goes through, the narrative's completely different. I think the Niners are probably the worst 3-0 team. Honestly, I'd take the Bucs over the Niners right now.
Okay. And have you come around on my Seattle Seahawks yet? Are you?
Yeah.
It was the New Orleans Saints. I get it, but it was a butt kicking.
Seahawks are a good team. I'll say it. I didn't think they were. They're a good team. I don't know if they're a great team, but I don't really want to. I'm just going to hold out and see. I've always liked Darnold, so I'm happy for him, and I hope that he does well. Mark always likes to put the Seahawks on the card, so I hope they're good for that sake as well. But that being said, they beat the Steelers and the Saints, so I'm not pushing all in yet.
But you can't wait to say "I told you so," right? That's what you're.
Well, I mean, this week's a good game. We have 2 teams that I think are good teams, not great teams, and it's on the road. So let's see what they do versus Cardinals team. If they go out there and beat this Cardinals team, I think that's a legitimate win. Even though I don't think the Cardinals are great, I think they're a good team. So let's see what happens.
I want to quickly get your take on coaching in the NFL because, first off, the relative value of coaching. Obviously, it's important. How important it is? Can you quantify it in any significant way? Bad coaches have won championships, and good coaches have finished, with horrible records. Just to, first off, before we talk about any coaches, just your general take maybe on how important coaches are.
I mean, I think coaches are kind of the cheat code in football. Like, they're not salary capped. You can go out and get the best ones. The problem is it is really hard to quantify. I mean, guys that we thought were going to be disasters end up being great coaches, and guys we think are going to be great coaches. I mean, everybody loved Brendan Staley and hated Dan Campbell, and we saw how that turned out. We think Liam Cohen and Dave Canales were great offensive geniuses, and we don't know. We're going to have to see. There was a few years ago where Frank Reich was, I think he might even won Coach of the Year. So a lot of judgment is made in a short period of time, but yes, the value of coaching there's multiple parts of it. I mean, there's the game day, there's the game preparation, the week preparation, the game day preparation, building the staff, using your timeouts, using your challenges, running the right formations, plays to beat certain teams, putting game plans together. And we as, observers don't always put all those things into the same bucket. We kind of have a tendency to overinflate, like, are they wasting time at the end of the first half and not giving themselves a chance to score? Or are they, not going for it enough on fourth down or whatever? So those things are
just to interrupt you real quick. I think that's the quantifiable part for us, right? Like, we can't quantify game plans and different things like that because it's so murky. There's so many variables, but time management, timeouts, things like that, we can point to and go, you just punted X percent of winning percentage. So that seems like the logical place we can point to. Yeah,
for sure. And, but the problem is, like, sometimes, I mean, I know there's a lot of smart people out there that can't stand the way that McVay coaches in game. And, I think you poll GMs, if they could start right now with one coach, I mean, I would think that he would just be the overriding first choice. I mean, it's like him or O'Connell, maybe, at which O'Connell comes from his system. So, yeah, so I don't know. It's hard, but yeah, coaching's the cheat code. And if you get one, you can pay him whatever you want, and you should pay him whatever you want. You look at the revolving door that the team like the Raiders have had. They had Gruden, and then they went to Antonio Pierce and Josh McDaniels, and I think it was McDaniels, then Pierce, and now, rehashing this Pete Carroll, the fakest of fake sharps. So, I mean, we're basically like on coach 4 or 5 here since they've had like anybody competent in the room, and you get a guy like Reed and Harbaugh and these guys that just hold it down and just take care of business.
Do you think the Raiders are going to be so Tom Brady, a minority owner? You would think either A, has a bunch of pull to bring some of the best coaches, or B, they don't really want to play for Tom Brady because maybe he's overbearing or something. Who knows?
No, I don't think that. I would doubt that. I mean, Tom Brady's, the epitome of team player and team everything. I think everybody wants to be in the orb of Tom Brady. I mean, he's him. So I think Carroll was just kind of look, we don't really have anything in place right now. Let's get a culture guy in here to try to build the culture, build up the fan base, get everybody excited about this team, get in some guys. And, Gino's kind of a placeholder. Carroll's kind of a placeholder, and let's start to try to rebuild this team. And then, we'll go out and get a great mind or something in a couple years. That's kind of my guess. I could be wrong, but I don't think they're thinking Carroll's some 10-year solution. I mean, the guy's old.
It's interesting where, some teams, you're like the Raiders, you were saying, recycling bad coaches, Tennessee, some other places that have, or New Orleans that struggle since their glory days, picking up a good coach. And I wonder if it's because there's a finite number of them, clearly. But, when you look at other sports, hockey, for instance, where, bad teams or teams without a lot of history can go out and get a really good coach and hire a good coach. But it seems to be different in the NFL for some reason. I'm not quite sure.
Well, I think it just all comes down to we just don't know. Like, I mean, there was a time where Adam Gase was going to be like the next great mind. I don't know. I mean, you can just name all these different coordinators that were the next great thing. I mean, some of them just turned out to be complete disasters, and some of them turned out to be great. And some of them you think it's like, Mike McDaniel, we got the next great thing. I mean, his first year in the league, he took the league by storm, and everybody was like, wow, the Dolphins, like they went out and they picked this young guy and came in, and now 2 years later, he's worn thin on everybody. I mean,
to win games, you have to win the game, not lose the game. Honestly.
Arthur Smith, same thing. Like he was the offensive genius who, figured out how to use Derrick Henry and AJ Brown with Tennessee, and then they bring him to Atlanta and complete stone disaster. So it's very hard to quantify like how good these guys are, and like even a guy like Belichick, considered the greatest of all time. It's like, now he goes to a different situation. Granted, it's in college, and he can't beat anybody. And it's like, okay, well, maybe it was just the players. And Sean Payton, similar. He's kind of, one of the geniuses of the league, and we sit week in, week out and just slam some of his decision making. So yeah, I think it's a lot harder than we think it is.
All right, let's look forward to week 4, some of the marquee games, and we'll jump right into them. The Eagles -3.5 at the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. The Eagles just find a way to win, week after week. It seems like they're in a nice spot here. 3.5. I think if I'm betting this game, I'm probably going to take the Eagles.
Yeah, I'm with you on that one. I think that Tampa Bay is just way too injured right now. No Mike Evans, a banged up Ibuka. I think Godwin may or may not play, but if he does, it'll be limited. Offensive line, they lost one of their big guys a couple weeks ago on that night game, and Tristan Wirfs might come back and play, which is huge for them, but how full strength is he going to be? The Eagles are just a machine. And also Tampa Bay has kind of owned the Eagles. So that's a little, that's the one distressing part. But on the flip side, it just means that I would think the Eagles will not take this game for granted. And, it's Eagles for me as well.
All right, let's go down some of these games. So we got time. We can blow through a bunch of them. Tomorrow, not a marquee game, but an interesting game, and we talked about it earlier. The Seahawks in Arizona. The Seahawks 1-point favorite in a divisional game on the road. Seems like a pretty good assessment of this game. I don't know. I think if I had to bet, I'd probably bet Arizona in this spot. It just seems like a short week, tough spot, interdivisional game on the road. It seems like a tough spot for the Seahawks.
Yeah, 2 for 2. We're aligned. I don't really like this game that much. I think these teams are kind of Spider-Man meme. Like they're kind of, I think they're very similar in kind of what I think of them. So I would just lean towards the home team on the short week, but it's not really a long trip. So it's not that big of a deal, but I'll still lean home team, short week. And, I had the Cardinals a touch higher power rated probably to start the season, but at this point, maybe I have the Seahawks maybe a touch above them, but I don't really think it's that big of a difference. Not a game I'm going to go out of my way to put a lot of money on, but one game that I'll definitely be interested in watching for future assessments.
Vikings in Pittsburgh. The Vikings are 2.5-point favorites. I think I like the Vikings here for a bunch of the reasons we talked about the Steelers earlier. Your thoughts there?
Yeah, this game's in Dublin. I don't.
Oh,
really,
right. Yeah, right.
Yeah, I don't really. I try not to put money on Carson Wentz, but at the same time, this defense. Pittsburgh has given up 30 points basically in 3 straight. 30 points to the Jets and about 30 points to Seattle, and New England could have hung 50 on them if they didn't turn the ball over so much. And Pittsburgh's offensive line's not very good. So, Brian Flores versus the statue of Aaron Rodgers, not really a spot that I'd like to be. I think I might violate my no Carson Wentz money and put a little on him.
Yeah, and then if any of these you're looking at Survivor, obviously you're looking at a bunch of games, but maybe if there's one of these, I don't think either one of those would be games that you're looking at yet, but maybe when we come across it. The Commanders in Atlanta, the Commanders are 1.5 point favorites. That's a tough one. The Commanders, obviously, depending on a couple of injuries there. All things being equal, I probably would lean to them, but I think I can't imagine betting on this game.
Yeah, hard pass on this game to me. Atlanta at home off of an embarrassing loss. I don't think they're as bad as that, obviously, and I don't really know what we're getting out of Jaden at this point, or McLaurin. So just a pass at this point. Maybe later in the week.
Saints in Buffalo. I think they're 16, somewhere in that range. I think I'm never in the world ever going to lay 16 points in an NFL game. So if I'm going to bet, it would be on the Saints. It might be a spot where they keep it, relatively close, backdoor cover. Maybe they're down 20 and they get a late touchdown. I don't know how Rattler's going to move the ball, but I think I'm staying away from this game. If I had to, I'd bet the Saints.
Yeah, only action for me here will be if I decide to put Survivor plays on Buffalo. I have Buffalo and everything available, so just a matter of another week of, do you want to eat the chalk? I mean, this is a chalk different than Seattle chalk, because with this one, A, they have future value, but B, right. I think they're just way more likely to win, obviously reflective of the spread. So it's just a matter of, do you just take the free square or not, in advance? Because if you don't play Seattle, I think it's just generally because you think that they can lose. So you can lose a lot of the field. This way, Buffalo is going to be played, but you're not really ever anticipating them lose. It's just basically the only reason you don't play Buffalo is just because you want them available when they'll be low owned and other people have to choose tougher spots.
Well, and to your point, they're going to have a bunch of spots later in the season, right? You were saying that.
There'll be some other spots, but nothing better than the worst team in the NFL at home. So
that's true.
You can never have a better spot than this. This is literally the 32nd best team on the road. So,
all right, Cleveland in Detroit. Detroit 9.5. Wow, what a performance by Detroit here. Do they have a little bit of a letdown against a feisty Browns team? I don't love laying that many points, so I don't think I'm betting this game, but if I did, it'd probably be the Browns, just to kind of keep it a lower scoring game than last week.
Yeah, I'm not betting a team that can that I don't really think can score 17 points versus the Lions on the road. So I'll take the Lions here. The Lions have to score 27 points to basically end this game, and I don't think that should be an issue. So I know Cleveland's defense is good, but not a game that I'm looking to play a lot, but a game I'll definitely be considering for Survivor.
Yeah, I was going to say that might be another game you're looking at for sure. Panthers in New England 5.5. Ooh, that's a lot of points to give up there. I think I'm betting that might be one of the games that I like the most there. I think I'm taking Carolina all day.
Well, it took a while, but we finally got a game we're different on. This is one of, if not my favorite game of the week. I think.
Oh, wow. Okay.
I think the Patriots are a really much better team than their record shows. That Pittsburgh game was a fluke, and the Carolina game was also semi-fluky. I mean, they had multiple defensive either touchdowns or set-up touchdowns. I think Bryce threw for like 140 yards or something. They have one of their top 4 receivers they plan on going into the year with in the lineup, and he's banged up and missed practice today. So, and they also lost their tight end. So of their top 5 pass catching options, the only one that they have left is banged up, and it's on the road after, this was a team we had penciled in as the bottom 3 team after 2 weeks. So I'm not just going to let that get me off. I think this is a very good get right spot for New England. It'll be at the top of my card of plays this week for sure.
And a possible Survivor spot, I guess, for you then, too, if you think that this might be a good spot for New England.
Yeah, definitely a game that I'll be considering for Survivor.
All right, Chargers in New York to play the Giants. The Chargers, 6.5 point favorites, dogs. This is going to depend a lot on Jackson Dart, right? So Dart is taking over for Russell Wilson, who, I like... Our memories of Russell Wilson, because I'm a Seahawks fan, are great, but they're long since faded away. He was horrible. Just that sequence of plays will go down in history last week as one of the worst. And that has made way for Jackson Dart to come in and start for the Giants this week with Russ sitting on the sidelines. Rookie quarterback, first game against a pretty darn good team. You got to like, or at least I do. I got to like taking the Chargers here and laying the 6.5, I think.
Yeah, it's funny. My wife didn't like football for when I met her, and now she watches games with me and understands games and stuff. And she, when she heard the news that Dart was the quarterback, she was like, "See, I told you." And I said, "Oh, you need to do that?" She goes, "No, but I can recognize a tantrum when I see one." And Russ Wilson, the last 4 plays that he threw the ball out of the end zone was him just throwing a tantrum and basically just protesting. And I'm not sure if that's right or not, but it sure makes sense. And he definitely put on a display probably the worst run 4-play sequence I've ever seen in my football watching life. I mean, throwing the ball up the tunnel, like you just can't have grounding penalties when nobody's around you in the pocket, 10 yards from the goal line. Like that's just not a thing. Like there's plenty of places to miss where nobody could catch it. I think this could be a sleepy spot for the Chargers. They had 3 straight division games and they have to travel across the country now. Tough physical game against the Broncos after beating the Chiefs and the Raiders as well. The 3 biggest rivals. Now they have to go across the country with a beaten down offensive line, play a tough offensive line of the Giants. I'm not sure if the Giants will be able to do much on offense or not, but I think they'll run a semi-conservative game plan, keep the clock moving. I don't think that the Chargers will look to get Herbert killed out there and drop back 100 times. So I could see this game being kind of a low-scoring slog where the Giants kind of fake cover. But yeah, not a game I'm loving by any means.
The last morning game is Tennessee in Houston. Houston, an 0-3 team, is a 7.5-point favorite. This probably talks more about the Titans than the Texans, obviously, but I think if I'm wagering on this game, it'll be in Houston, Tennessee. Not good, and the coaching is terrible. I don't know. We've talked each week about some dumb coaching stuff, and I didn't really put anything in for this week. Although Brian Callahan, I don't know if you saw this, but at the end of the first half against the Colts, they ran a ball and it was 4th and 1 on the 35 with like 40 seconds left. Colts call a timeout. So now he's got a decision to make. Does he run the ball? Does he kick the field goal? I think it was a 52-yarder, 53-yarder. Does he kick the field goal? He decides to call another timeout right after the Colts did before he runs a play. And then they decide to, halfway through it, they run the field goal unit out there, and then they take a delay game penalty because they're not ready. After 2 timeouts, they're not ready to kick the field goal, and now it's a 58-yarder or something that he ends up missing. But it just, like, watching this in horror, going, how do you have a job? How does Brian Callahan have a job in this league?
Yeah, I mean, he has a job because he was offensive coordinator for Joe Burrow. So I mean, that's it. Goes back to, again, you think what you're getting is one thing, but you're getting something else. So yeah, I mean, the Texans offense is not good enough for me to lay 7, but I have zero faith in Tennessee. So and again, this will be another option for Survivor. Getting more than a touchdown on a team that doesn't have many good spots. So that's a consideration, but I'm not really lining up to play Tennessee ever right now. And I'm also not lining up to lay 7 points with the Texans. So this will just be a pass for me.
One of the marquee games, we have Indianapolis in LA to play the Rams. The Rams at home are 3.5-point favorites. Wow, tough game. Tough game to call. I think if it was 3, I would bet the Rams. 3.5, I don't love. So I'm probably going to stay away from just watch this as a fan. It's going to be a great game.
This is one of my games that I like the most at this point. Again, we're on Wednesday, so things can change. But as much as I like the Colts, I don't think this is a very good spot for them at all. 3-0. Traveling across the country to LA, who just really got gut punched in a game. They're not going to overlook you at home. Matthew Stafford, Devontae Adams, Puka Nacua, a defensive line that has been number 1 in the league against the rush. So, if you can shut down Taylor a little bit, they shut down Barkley last week and very impressive with that. if they can just limit Taylor and not let him go off, now you have Danny Dimes in a hostile environment with okay pass weapons, but not elite. I don't think this is a great spot. The Colts are not going, 13-4 this year. So, I mean, they're going to have to lose some games on the road on the West Coast. Seems like a good spot to do it. So I like the Rams in this one.
All right, then we got the Jaguars in San Francisco. The San Francisco 49ers are 3.5-point favorites here. I really like the Jaguars. I know I've talked about them a lot. I think the 49ers have some issues at quarterback. Joey Bosa's gone. I feel like this is a good spot for Jacksonville.
Yeah, the Niners are completely banged up, and Jacksonville's playing decent. This to me feels like another lower scoring. I'm kind of surprised the total's this high. Kind of a lower scoring game. There's just a beat up San Francisco team, but it's Jacksonville traveling across country. I lean Jacksonville with the points. I like the 3.5. If this was the other side of 3, I might not. But as it's currently constructed at 3.5, I lean Jacksonville, and I could see them winning the game. They're definitely a live dog. San Francisco's definitely not a powerhouse. I mean, their 3-0 is pretty fake. I mean, they beat Seattle at home, or in a game where I don't even think they deserve to win. They beat the Saints by 5, and then they kind of got lucky there to beat the Cardinals. So it's kind of a pretty fake team.
And then we have the marquee game of the week, and we talked about it. We hinted about it at the top. This is the Ravens in Kansas City. Who would have thought that the marquee game is 2 1-2 teams, 3 games into the season? But here we are. The Baltimore Ravens are 2.5-point favorites in Kansas City. This just feels a lot like a line set for the public who loves to bet on the Chiefs. Honestly, I don't know how you could bet the Chiefs in this spot. The Ravens, coming off a game that they're going to want to clap back on, and I love the Ravens here -2.5.
Well, if you're watching on YouTube, you'll see it, but if you're listening, you won't. But I am motioning to push all my chips in the center. We have 2 aces, and we're going to put them all in, and we're going to hope that we get a clean run out. And this is as free a square as you can get in the NFL. The Baltimore Ravens are going to kick the Kansas City Chiefs' ass. No magic for Mahomes because it won't be close enough for the magic. You beat the Ravens by running the ball. The Chiefs have 2 absolute plotters who cannot. This is not Gibbs and Montgomery. This is Pacheco and Kareem Hunt. These guys are not good. They're not dynamic. The Chiefs are not a dynamic offense. Spagnuolo, great defensive mind. Chiefs, good defensive team, but you just don't stop the Ravens. You just hope to contain them, and you can maybe contain them a little bit, but you're going to have to score. Nobody's beating the Ravens 17-13. I just don't see that happening, and that's kind of how the Chiefs have to win these days. And I think it's very hard to keep the Ravens under 24, 27 points. It seems like a floor for them. And I can't imagine the Chiefs scoring that many points, regardless of how bad the Baltimore Ravens defense is. So once again, I push my chips in against the Chiefs, and I'm probably going to get kicked in the nuts and punched in the nose. But I'm going to do it. So if you
we're going to get a lot of Patty Mahomes gifts sent at us on Twitter, I'm sure.
Yeah, go ahead and if you've got good credit and you want to bet juice free, I'll lay the 2.5. So, yeah.
The last game of the afternoon games is the Bears in Las Vegas. The Raiders are 1.5-point favorites. I actually like the Raiders here. Chicago's 1.5-point favorites. I like the Raiders here as a 1.5-point home dog. How about yourself?
Yeah, not really a game I'm all that convicted on. Good game. A lot of fantasy players, a lot of fantasy relevant players for me. But I like the Bears in general. I wanted to like the Raiders, but they haven't been very impressive. home field advantage. Seems like a toss up game.
You mentioned fantasy in this game, and I think this is a Genty game, get right game. I think he finally breaks out here.
Oh, you think he's going to be able to get to the line of scrimmage before he gets hit? I mean,
that would help.
That
would certainly help.
You've never heard a stat like this. I'm sure if you're a fantasy player, you've seen this, but 101% of yards gained by Gentry this year have been after
First contact.
He got hit. So he's been hit behind the line of scrimmage as an average spot for you. That means the offensive line is not getting off the football. And that's a tough way to win in the NFL.
The night game on Sunday, the Packers at the Cowboys, Green Bay 6.5. The total 47.5. Just the way the Cowboys allow points and score points. If I had to bet this game, I think I'm betting over the 47.5. Obviously Green Bay lost last week. They were considered. We talked about them. Are they the best team in football last week? They lost to the Browns, but this feels like a spot where they're gonna roll.
Yeah, no take from me. I'm not the biggest Jordan Love fan, but I also think that the Cowboys defense is epically bad, and there's gonna be a lot of emotion in this game. So it'll be a fun one to watch for a little while. But I don't know, just nothing right now. I might get something later, but on Wednesday, it's not really a game that I'm all that excited about putting money on.
Well, if you're not excited about that game, how can you not be excited about the Monday night games? So we have the Jets at the Dolphins, which everybody is waiting for. Miami -2.5. How Miami's favored against anybody, I don't know. Wouldn't even think about betting on them at the moment. So if I'm going to have to take somebody, I would take the Jets there. And then later, we've got Bengals at your Broncos. Broncos 7.5-point favorites. That's a really good spot for the Broncos. Bengals can't do anything. So I think I'm betting the Broncos and the Jets there if I had to in those games.
Yeah, I actually really like the Dolphins. I think this is a pretty good spot for them. They have 11 days off. They played on Thursday. Now they're playing on Monday, basically a mini bye. They showed me a little fight up there in Buffalo, and this is kind of this is season's on the line. I mean, there's never been a more kitchen sink game than this one. I mean, you have to beat the Jets. You will lose your job if you do not beat the Jets. Now that could be the players.
To win games, you have to win the game.
Yes.
Not lose the game.
I'm never going to get sick of that. That's the best drop ever. Sorry.
It's a great quote. So yeah, I like the Dolphins, but I won't be watching much of this game because I will be in Denver. I will be watching my Bo Nix play what was supposed to be Joe Burrow, and the Bengals supposed to be one of the games of the year. Unfortunately, we have Jake Browning, but I'm excited to watch the Broncos defense completely wreck this Bengals offensive line and watch Bo Nix finally be up against the defense that hopefully he can shred and beat. Like I said, I'm buying all the Bo Nix stock that you're selling, but if he cannot connect with his pass catchers and lead multiple touchdown drives and a victory here, then I may be looking to sell it.
So I'm in a 12-team fantasy league, no keepers or anything like that. It's a roto league. And my partner and my team, Steve Friedlander, Reno Duck. I don't know if you might know him. You probably met him. But anyways, we're doing our pickups this week, and he's like, "Yeah, we're dropping T. Higgins." I'm like, "What? Excuse me, what?" He was like a second-round pick. Like, we're dropping T. Higgins. He goes, "He's unstartable," which I agree with. He is unstartable right now. He was seriously suggesting we drop T. Higgins.
You cannot drop T. Higgins. What are you dropping him for? Like, there's, even if it's like a 16-team league, I'm not dropping T. Higgins. I mean, this guy has all the explosiveness. Look, Jake Browning he's not Joe Burrow, but he's also not bad, and they're probably not going to do a lot this week, but they're going to have some offensive days, and T. Higgins is a reason why. They played Minnesota, which is Minnesota at Denver. It's got to be the worst landing spot in the history of coming in as a backup quarterback. I mean, they probably won't do a lot this week, but go ahead and hold on to your T. Higgins stock.
Okay.
Yeah, I would definitely not drop T. Higgins.
We didn't. I talked him out of it.
I honestly would probably start him. I can't imagine. I don't know how good your team is that you're benching T. Higgins. I'm starting
Devonta
Calvin
Smith.
Ridley, for God's sakes. I don't even have a T. Higgins. At least your guy has, at least your guy's talented.
We got Amon-Ra, and I think I'm starting Devonta Smith over T. Higgins.
Oh, you only have 2 receivers.
No, we have 3. I can't remember who our third one is at the moment, but because I'm in too many leagues. But I have a stack, so because I have Hurts, so that's why we end up starting Devonta, because we need the stack. But anyways, nobody wants to hear about my fantasy team. Let's move on. The last thing to talk about this week is the most exciting thing of the week for me and for many people out there. Not you, because you're going to be on the golf course, but Ryder Cup week is here. Yeah, love it. The USA somehow, so Europe is 10-4 in the last 14 Ryder Cups. USA is minus 170 to win this thing outright. Plus 150 on Europe if you're going to bet on Europe. And I don't know how you could even consider laying minus 170 on the US when Europe is essentially the same team that they just beat them in Europe. It was handily. They beat them quite easily. Yes, it's away Ryder Cups. I get that how hard it is to win an away Ryder Cup. The last side to do that for the last 4 times, the Europe has won it on foreign soil 4 times since the US has done it. So they can do it. I think they will do it. I'm taking plus 150 all day.
Yeah, this is an event I've been looking forward to for months. I will have a large bet on Europe. I think Europe is a better team, and I'm getting plus money. I already have a bet on them to win the cup, and I also have a bet on them to win this Ryder Cup, which would be Ty loses. And so I got plus 170 on that one. And then the other one, I think juice free is like plus 140 or something but yeah, I think Europe wins this. I love the competitors for Europe. Scotty is the best player in the world, but then I think I would take probably 5 Euros in a row before I would get to the second American, and definitely before I got to the third American. I mean, give me Tommy, Rory, Vic, Rom, Ludwig. I'll take all 5 of those guys before I even get to maybe Bryson. I'll put in that conversation, but who's the third best guy on America? Xander. He hasn't even been very good lately. Colin sucks. JJ's whatever. Harris English. I mean, Patrick Cantlay. Sam Burns. Ben Griffin's been good, but I mean, the guy just missed a 4-footer to tie in Napa Valley. What's he going to do when he's got Rory staring at him? I mean, Ben Griffin's a nice 12th pick, but he's definitely not he's not a horse. I don't like JT. So yeah, I mean, I'm a little concerned. Straka and Lowry have not been very good lately, but I think they're extremely strong competitors. Bobby Mack, I love. Justin Rose, for my money, but I think Justin Rose should hit the first tee shot for the Europeans. To me, he's like, let him go out there as the leader.
He's my favorite golfer. Justin Rose is my favorite golfer. He's just pure class.
I mean, Rory's mine, but yeah, maybe even put those 2 out there together. I mean, it's great. Yeah, I just don't see how and also this golf course is set up. This is a very long golf course, and the Euros are mostly bombers. The Americans are more like Henley and
more
Collin and English and Vaughn. These guys are not the bombers that Ludwig and Rory and I mean, Fleetwood's kind of more in that Henley class, but he can move it. Ludwig, Vic. I mean, these guys are bombers. I mean, granted, we know that Bryson is a bomber, but he's also wildly erratic. I don't necessarily even think the home turf advantage is that big of an event. I think it might even make some of those guys more nervous. It's hard playing in front of all that.
Yeah, and New York people aren't afraid to boo your own team when shit's going sideways, right?
Yeah, I don't know if that'll necessarily be the case, but I do know that you feel the weight of, and also I feel like the Americans are they're making a big deal about making the crowd part of it, and they might just play up to the crowd. I think there might be a little lack of concentration from time to time. The Europeans just focus, go about you got a job to do. You came here to do a job, and I like Keegan. I'm an American through and through. I just, for some reason, I just don't really trust nor even like a lot of the U.S. golfers. I mean, I want to. I can't wait till there's a time where there's a bunch of U.S. golfers that I love, but
Well, it's to your point. Too bad Keegan isn't on the team. He's a dog. He's a fighter. He's a perfect match play guy. And they made a mistake by naming him captain, obviously.
Yeah, I would much rather, and they should have waited a year. I mean, another session for Keegan, but I don't think they really thought he was going to be at this point in his playing career. I mean, they probably figured he maxed out a couple years ago when he didn't make the team. So, but yeah, I love
the best. And Scotty's the best player in the world. I totally agree. But run him out there 5 times, 36. He's going to be exhausted by the end of it when they just throw him out there.
Well, I mean, Scotty also, I mean, you're only playing one singles match. So yeah, he might be the best player, but he's still got to depend on, whoever he's partnering with to do their part. Look, I mean, you give me Scotty and Sam Burns and I'm getting, Rory, Tommy. I mean, yeah, granted that's 2 of our guys, but I mean, it might even be Rory and Lowry. I mean, I don't even hate the side of Rory Lowry and versus that. So yeah, I just don't trust the other guys. JT lost his best friend. He doesn't get to play besides Spieth, so yeah. I don't know if that helps him or hurts him, but yeah, I don't trust JT. I mean, JT for alternate shot. I mean, I can't imagine sitting there on tee box watching him drive the ball into the rough continuously, putting me in good spots. Me leaving him me chipping it to 4 feet and watching him miss it. Like, I can't think of anybody I'd rather have less as my partner than JT. And then, he finally makes 1 putt on 5 and then he'll just drop the putter and rooster pose it. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, I'm out on JT. I'm out on the Americans, and give me the Europeans. And yeah, I'm super excited. This is the best. This is a great weekend for sports. I know we went a little longer this one, but good, great week in the NFL. Great week for me personally. I've been Ryder Cup for 3 days. I got Auburn versus Texas A&M. We got Baltimore versus Kansas City. We got Ryder Cup singles.
Baseball, Yankees, Blue Jays coming down to the wire. You got everything.
We got Broncos, Bengals on Monday night. It's going to be a great weekend. So, everybody strap in and pace yourselves with the drink and make sure you're awake for all of it. And
awesome. All right. That's going to wrap it up for us. Thanks so much for getting together, you guys. And thanks to everybody out there for listening. Enjoy the weekend, and we will talk to you next week.
Later. Thank you.